he's Cuban or whatever.
Okay.
And he talks about like when he's living in like Miami or whatever when he's young, and that his mom is just like, come here, man, let me show you something. And like he goes out and he's like 5, and she just picks up this chicken by the head and goes and its head pops off and it runs around spurting blood in circles for a second and then dies. And she goes, pretty cool, huh? And he's like, and he's like, why'd I turn out the way I did? I don't know, Mom. Like,
hey, if you don't traumatize your kids from time to time, are you really doing your job as a parent?
I mean, yeah, there's certainly got to be some of those. It's his stories though, like when you talk about like when they moved to Cuba or from Cuba to the US, and they were first here and they got KFC and there was coleslaw, and he was
yeah.
And he's like, Dad, I don't really like coleslaw. You will eat the coleslaw. The American, otherwise people will know that we are not American if we do not eat the coleslaw. And he's like, oh, Dad, I'm pretty sure
they're gonna know.
You not eating the coleslaw is the least of the things that are going to be a giveaway. But he's like, why does coleslaw even exist? Who looked at this salad and went, you know what would be better with this salad if it was wet? Like, ew. It's I who looks at that and goes, hey, what if this was wet and like white?
Let's see, and that's the part that turns me off to it is the white wetness to it. It's like, no. A nice balsamic vinaigrette on a salad, I'm okay with that.
I just read a thing where somebody's talking about, like, I think it was on Reddit. It was like the most insane food orders, because there's two subreddits that I absolutely love. One is the most insane drinks from customers.
Sure.
And it's like, and they share the pictures of the drink order receipts, and some of them you're like, I don't feel like you deserve to live. That's awful. What is wrong with you? And then there are the most insane food orders. And my favorite that I just saw the other day was somebody legitimately ordered, and I quote, Caesar salad, hold the lettuce. And I was like, so bruschetta on toast with like oily bruschetta on toast is what you're looking for? You could just say that. Because that's a Caesar salad without the lettuce. It's just oily bruschetta on toast. Think about it.
Yeah,
that's what that is.
Speaking of people that just should not. Oh my god,
it's the most insane. I looked at that and I stared at it for the longest time. I went, but wait, the remaining ingredients are bruschetta.
And yeah.
And then croutons. So it's just bruschetta on toast. Like, why wouldn't you just order that if that's what you wanted?
Maybe it's cheaper if you just order the salad. I don't know.
I guess, but like, good Lord. I mean, no. See, honey, I'm eating healthier. I ordered the salad. There is no scenario on planet Earth where the Caesar salad is actually a like lower fat option.
Right.
Like, if you know what's on a Caesar, that it is as bad, and in often cases is worse than like just ordering a double cheeseburger with bacon. Like, if you're worried about calories, like, you're gonna get just as many calories out of the Caesar salad.
Yeah.
If not more.
Right. Which is why if I'm going to have a salad, I always make it, I get romaine, like a romaine heart, take like 10 leaves off of it, chop them up, throw a couple light handfuls of shredded cheese on top, maybe some cubed ham, and then balsamic vinaigrette. And I just have that as a meal. And usually about 2 hours later, let's just say Miralax is never something I have to take if I eat that regularly.
See, I have often gone, you know what? I'm going to have a salad. And then
Boom, steak.
somehow it's a bacon cheeseburger, but there is a piece of lettuce on it. That's what happens. That's not food.
I'm
That's
not
what food eats.
I'm not ashamed to say that I do occasionally have a salad.
I don't eat salad.
It's good for your digestion. And I'm getting older. I have to pay attention to that shit.
Nah, no. Give me a bacon cheeseburger, and if you really want me to eat more vegetables, throw a tomato and some lettuce on it. But it's cheeseburgers, man. It's gonna be cheeseburgers. And people will tell me, like, well, don't you want to eat healthier? And I always go, no.
You've already been here longer than you planned on, so
yeah, and you ever really want to have fun, right? You ever really just want to watch someone's brain kind of melt. and experience the Chaos Goblin life that I get to enjoy frequently. Just when somebody goes, don't you care about your health because you're doing something like really unhealthy, like you're drinking a bunch of beer or you're eating, 3 steaks or whatever it is that you're doing. When they go, don't you care about your health? Just look at them and go, no. And then end the statement there and look at them. Checkmate your move.
They just stare at you blankly like, I have no response.
Yeah, because what are they going to say to that? I don't care how much of a health nut you are. What are you going to say to that? And most go, well, you should. Okay, but I don't. And
right,
like they got nothing.
No, there's no response to that.
I've also been sitting there drinking whiskey and had somebody go, don't you know that's going to kill you one day? And I'm like, God, I hope so. And they had nothing.
Well, like you said, what do you say to that? How do you respond to that?
You got nothing. You got nowhere to go. Or because I vape, right? And I've had people go, that's killing you. And I went, why do you think I'm doing it?
Yeah, I mean.
And?
Right. How do you respond to that? It's like...
Because my life philosophy, right? My life philosophy around health and things and whatever is, look, I know people who've smoked like they smoke 4 packs a day. They were constantly drinking half a bottle of whiskey a night. They, pretty much just drugged and rocked and rolled their lives to graves in their mid to late 80s, right? Look at Keith Richards. Okay. Yeah. That's that lifestyle. And you're happy. You're just enjoying yourself. You're doing what you want, right? And then there are people who are fitness freaks. They're always denying themselves good food and they're eating just the most disgusting stuff that tastes like old shoes and whatever else. And then they're running constantly and obsessing over, I got to keep my heart rate up for however many minutes, blah, blah, blah. And then they get hit by a bus at 24. What and they die. Okay, well, you just spent your entire life denying yourself any amount of even the tiniest happinesses.
Yeah,
that a cheese curd dipped in ranch could give you.
And that's something too that I don't subscribe to, the idea that you need to always do the quote unquote right thing for your health or anything like that. It's, if my kids want to go out and have ice cream, guess what? We're gonna go have some fucking ice cream. But on the day-to-day, for my lunch breaks at work, I'll have usually some kind of high-density protein, those Wenzel Farm meat sticks that they sell at Quick Trip?
Yeah, those are really good.
They're fantastic, and they're not terrible for you. It's 95% protein.
Yeah, and I get that, and I'm all about meat, man. I love eating meat. I am a huge fan of consuming animal protein, right? And think more people should do more of that and less of the whole consuming all the artificial crap, right? I get that. I totally get that, but on the flip side of that, I don't care. Like, I just can't bring myself to give a shit. I've tried, but I just can't bring myself to give a shit. I just can't. As far as I'm concerned, I'm living on bonus time anyway, and I have been for a decade. So, like, whatever. I'm just, every day above ground's another blessing, but that can all be snatched away from you. So why go, no, I don't want to have that extra scoop of ice cream today. That would be bad and put me over my calorie. And you meet these people. Can you call any of these people happy? Because I can't. None of them strike me as happy or satisfied with life. They are all really high strung and constantly worried and everything else. Just like, dude, go like maybe smoke a bowl and like eat a sleeve of Oreos and you'll probably feel better. Like you'll be a little more relaxed.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with that. If do the thing that makes you happy, and this is just my own personal mantra. I'll do the thing that makes me happy. Like right now, I'm having a beer. Beer makes me happy. I just won't do it in excess.
See, I thoroughly believe in Charles Bukowski's life philosophy, which was find something that you love and let it kill you. That's the way I look at things. That's the way I look at whiskey. That's the way I look at most things in life. That's why I like driving really fast. That's why I like racing. That's why I like wildly undersafe, incredibly over fast cars and motorcycles and everything, because find what you love and let it kill you. But we are now over 10 minutes into the show, so I suppose I should intro. Hello, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable Discussion. In case you didn't realize that's where you were at in the past 10 minutes.
No, this is just deranged pseudo health stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we'll get to that in a minute, but before we do, let me remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the use and reuse of this podcast in part or in its entirety by anyone and everyone except governments and their agents. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is BIPCOT.org. If you have any questions on that, we are also, as always, invoking Brandenburg v. Ohio, along with the other accompanying Supreme Court decisions, which state that inflammatory speech cannot be punished unless that speech is directed to inciting imminent lawless action and is likely to incite imminent lawless action. Everything on here is for entertainment purposes only. Do not take anything we say seriously. Well, actually, no. You know what? Take everything we say incredibly wildly seriously. It'll probably stress you out and you'll have a heart attack, you health nut. So, speaking of that I think that discussion, I think, just leads us into the first article of the evening pretty well, with a beautiful segue. And RFK Jr. wants every American to use wearable health data collecting technology. That's right.
Gosh.
It's for your own good.
I mean, everything they tell us to do is for our own good, isn't it? Because they obviously know better than we do.
This episode, if we have attracted a certain type of listener who maybe is still leaning pretty hard into the Trumpkin category, this episode is probably going to make them stop listening to us. But
I mean,
I tell the truth. If the truth hurts, well,
maybe you should open your mind a little bit and understand that not everything can be viewed through a Cheeto-colored lens.
Yes. And there are plenty of people, including even in the anarchist community, people who are big fans of RFK Jr., and I don't understand why anyone who calls themselves an anarchist would be a fan of anybody whose last name is Kennedy. But Health and Human Services Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. wants all Americans to use wearable technology to track their health as part of his MAHA, Make America Healthy Again agenda. The Kennedy Klan strongman revealed his agency's plans Tuesday for a massive push for Americans who have an obesity rate of 40%. to use wearable data collecting technologies such as Fitbits, Oura Rings, and Apple Watches to promote healthier lifestyles.
Fun fact, if you have a Samsung phone and you didn't get rid of the bloatware that came on your Samsung phone, there's an app that sometimes gets auto-loaded called Samsung Health, and that will just track your motion, your movement throughout the course of the day. How many steps did you take, et cetera, et cetera. So you don't even have to have an extra device. Your cell phone, your smartphone will do it for you.
Remember when we've talked so much on the show, and if you're a longtime listener, you know this. We've talked so much on the show about social credit scores and the impending use of social credit scores. Gosh, this definitely wouldn't be connected to that, would it?
No.
It's not like, being able to track whether or not you're doing the healthy things is going to contribute to your social credit score. And if you're being lazy and sedentary and whatnot, you're then going to lose social credit or anything, which ironically is probably, let's be honest, going to negatively affect far more of the political left and the same commies who want things like social credit scores, and it's probably going to affect most people on the political right in America, but
more than likely. But even that, I mean, the biggest thing that it's going to impact is like social credit in that regard. I could see that somehow being tied into your health insurance premiums. So if you're sloughing off and you're not trying to maintain somewhat of a healthy lifestyle, oh, congratulations! Now your health insurance premiums are going to go up 25% next year because you didn't take enough steps in the year 2025.
Yeah. I mean, and that's obviously that the way to that has been paved by the Affordable Care Act. But, quote, we're about to launch the biggest advertising campaign in HHS history to encourage Americans to use wearables, Kennedy said in a House Committee on Energy and Commerce hearing on Tuesday. It's a way people can take control over their own health. They can take responsibility. They can see, as you know, what food is doing to their glucose levels, their heart rates, and a number of other metrics as they eat it, the Secretary said in a statement, which was also posted on X. We think that wearables are a key to the MAHA agenda of making America healthy again. Well, isn't that what MAHA stands for? Anyway, and my vision is that every American is wearing a wearable in 4 years, he concluded.
So I'm going to, instead of getting yourself a wearable, why don't you just go get yourself a nice big package of edibles and be happy?
I mean, why not just get Neuralink?
Yeah.
Just wire that shit directly into your brain and then broadcast it to your government minders so that they know how far are you walking, where are you going, at your location at all times, what's your heart rate.
And Neuralink and Elon Musk's affinity for AI certainly are not connected to one another.
You ever seen Dollhouse?
Fantastic show, actually.
Yeah, you see where I'm going with that? I
mean, you got Dollhouse. You could add in things like, Dollhouse would be a stepping stone to like full-blown Matrix. But at some point in between Dollhouse and Matrix, you also probably have the Terminator series.
Yeah, I mean,
one could argue the three of those exist in the same universe.
Yeah, but the amount of pop-up ads on the New York Post website are just
ridiculous.
It is obscene, absolutely obscene. But and the great thing is,
the Surgeon General is also an advocate for wearables.
Yes, Trump's Surgeon General also an advocate.
Continuous glucose monitoring products.
Yeah. Sorry, you've eaten too much sugar. You have gone over your sugar allotment. No more sweets for you by government mandate.
Now your refrigerator door automatically locks because you've gone over your sugar mandate. You can't get into your freezer. The only thing you can have access to is whatever is out in the open in your kitchen because the government mandate has said you shall not pass.
Can you imagine, just for a moment, because it just kind of occurred to my brain here, imagine for a moment you are somebody who is on food stamps and Medicaid. And now RFK pushes this, and then maybe eventually pushes it to the point where it becomes mandated for these people to have this. And can you imagine the way these people would flip if then it said, sorry, you're overweight, you're underactive, you are no longer allowed to buy high calorie foods or high sugar foods with your food stamps. You are only allowed to buy health foods, and your Medicaid premiums have now gone up because you're at increased risk of diabetes, heart disease, whatever. And so now you're not as covered as you once were. And the only way to not have these issues is now you have to go out and get active. And you have to earn exercise credits in order to earn like whatever sweets you want or whatever.
I mean, I'm okay with them clamping down on what you can buy with food stamps.
Because to a certain extent, but
if understand, Andrew and I don't believe that the government should be giving away tax dollars to people. That should be handled by your local
tax
community
dollars to give away.
Exactly. That's why I kind of framed it that way. We don't believe that should be a thing. That's just the reality of the world we live in. So if you're going to steal from me in order to fund these people who are majority fat and lazy and just living on the government hog, well, then I'm okay with them clamping down on what you can buy with my money.
Well, more of where I was going on that, because I'm not. Here's the thing. More of where I'm going on that is the goal, right, is ultimately to get absolutely everyone on food stamps, on Medicaid, on government-controlled everything, right?
Yeah.
Again, with the social credit. And this is where this is going. And you test run it with the people who are already extremely dependent on government.
Yeah.
Also, think of what everyone wearing wearables that the government has access to would do to disability claims.
Yeah.
Oh, really? You can't work, you can't do anything physical? Well, it says here that you put in more than 10,000 steps, and we cross-reference that nearly instantaneously using metadata to find out that here's a video posted of you going four-wheeling with the boys over the weekend that was posted on Facebook. And by the way, here's video of you drunkenly trying to dance a jig next to a campfire that we pulled off of your friend's phone remotely.
Mm-hmm.
Because we activated his camera and hot mic'd it so that we could get the footage, even though what he was doing was, swiping Tinder while he was sitting next to his girlfriend at the campfire. We activated the camera and the microphone so that we could monitor you. Like, this is the world that isn't even the only thing standing between the government and that happening, that dystopian reality, is the government's will to do it.
Yeah. You're
technologically
right.
There is no limit between what we have for technology now and them being able to do that.
And in reality, that was one of the things that really scared everybody, especially people like you and I, during the scamdemic, where, I'm an Android person. I like my Android phones. But the amount of data that Google and Amazon and Fascist Book and all the other social medias skim off of you by what you do with your device, all they would have to do is really go full fasci, because fasci, public-private partnerships and all that fun stuff, the government still controls the means of production. They just do so through more coercive means other than just owning the means of production. All they would have to do is partner with those same companies and go, hey, we have all of your data because Google gave it to us.
Yeah. Or
which is what Prism was doing.
No, you know what they'll do Here's the thing, and we learned this during COVID. Speaking of COVID, we learned this during COVID. What they will do is say, hey, you'll get a bonus check from the government for a monthly partial tax refund if you let us collect your data.
Yep.
And it won't even have to be much. It'll be like $250 a month. And for $250 a month, half of America will go, okay, spy on me.
Pretty much. Yep.
That's all it takes. And it's not even, that $250 isn't even like somebody else's money that you're gaining. That was your own money. They are bribing you with stealing slightly less of your money in exchange for being able to spy on you. And
Yep,
people
and
will go, isn't this great?
Yep.
Google already does it. In case you didn't know, Google already does that, where if you agree to allow them to openly spy on you like hell, they send you like $25 a month.
Mm-hmm. And then Google gets paid by entities to share that data with them.
Yeah. But they give you a bunch of money, so it's totally okay, right? People are so easy to bribe. They're so easy to bribe into giving up their freedom. It's fucking disgusting.
It's disgusting and it's disturbing. It's like, can you not see the logical conclusion, even if you follow this on a straight line? Never mind the twists and turns of all the different party politics horse shit. But if you follow it on a straight line from A to B, you're literally going to end up. Andrew, you've read the books, Agenda 21.
Yeah. I actually still have them set on my...
Yeah, I know you have my copies.
Yeah, right here.
But if you get a chance, I understand it's written by Glenn Beck. Trust me, it's worth the read. But literally, it's not that far-fetched to see that is where everything heads if you allow companies and governments, especially companies that partner so hard with those same governments, to do all of their fiddle fuckery.
Yeah. I mean, remember, they got people to participate in a potentially fatal science experiment in exchange for a free donut.
They got people to participate in a potentially fatal science experiment for the illusion of of the ability to move about freely. The illusion. And I say
the thing that the Constitution guarantees.
Right. And I say the illusion because I never got jabbed. Andrew never got jabbed. And we just kept living our lives.
Yeah. I literally worked through all of COVID nonstop because I was an essential worker.
Me too. They cut us by 1 hour. So I was working 39 hours instead of 40 hours every week. But
yeah,
I worked.
Gave me a permanent day off instead of moving my day off.
Yeah,
it all changed.
We had to work all the way through it. So we were going to work every day. We were interacting with people every day. I was working in healthcare at the time, so the only thing I really had to give up initially was the fact that because I refused to get their experimental jungle juice, I always had to wear a mask while I was at work.
And it's a private company that can put those kinds of restrictions on you because if you want to work there, that's what you got to go through.
Right. And I was actually about 3 days from getting fired because because I worked at a hospital and CMS was requiring COVID jabs for all staff, whether you were patient care or not. And
it's ridiculous. And now they're going, oopsies, it turns out that was maybe a bad idea.
Right. Well, and Andrew, I know you've heard me tell the story about what I did to get around that. I went online and got an online ordination filed my paperwork with the state to be considered a member of the clergy. So I'm a registered clergyman with the state of Wisconsin. And then I wrote my own, you too? And then I wrote my own religious exemption.
In fact,
so I literally walked in, handed the paperwork to my HR person, and she goes, I need this signed by a member of the clergy. Oh, here's my certification. Here's the fact that I'm certified with the state of Wisconsin. So I wrote my own because I am a clergyman. Now what? Checkmate, your move.
Credentials of ministry.
Right.
Stamped. Everything. Yay.
So Andrew and I can both park in those reserved parking spots that say for clergymen.
I actually have that particular thing that says clergy. I have that in the glove box in my car at all times.
Do you really?
Yes. I have it in the glove box in my car. And only once have I ever used it. But
I've never used mine. I'm just saying that I can. But so I actually went that route. I went I committed to it wholly and completely. And admittedly, at that point in time, I wasn't really an active. I'll talk about my own beliefs here. I wasn't really an active Christian at that point in time. Admittedly, like I didn't regularly. It wasn't a regular prayer or anything like that. But honestly, going through that process and then writing my own religious exemption because of all of that actually brought me closer to my faith in a way that I didn't realize I really needed. So that's kind of a fun little tangent. But the long story short here, circling back, is the government wants you to do wearables. Yep, there it is. The government wants you to do wearables so that way they can spy on you openly to make sure that you're trying to be healthy. And that's not okay. That they want you to volunteer to do it. They want you to volunteer to do it because then if you volunteer to do it, it's not a violation of your Fourth Amendment. If they try to force you to do it, they're openly violating the Fourth Amendment.
And and that's how this path goes, right? Like this path starts out with it's a suggestion for your own good, right? It's a suggestion for your own good. And I'm not shitting on wearables, right? Like I have one. I have a smartwatch that is an athletic oriented smartwatch. The reason I have it is because it has off-road GPS built into it.
Fair
so
enough.
When I hike, I don't need to worry about my phone being charged or anything else, like because that thing's got like 24 days of battery or some shit on it. It's ridiculous.
Something ridiculous.
Yeah. And so I have a compass on it. I have GPS built into it. I have GPS that uses off-road maps built into it, all that stuff. I have all of that, and it can do all of that with or without my phone present, which means that I have GPS on my wrist. It gives me altitude. It will give me airspeed. It will give me just a ton of stuff that is important occasionally for me. Now, it's not necessarily important for other people, but it is important for me to have all that stuff, and I love having it right on my wrist, super easily accessible. It's super nice. So, and like I can have a 10-day weather forecast, like flip my wrist, there it is. I appreciate having that stuff, right? I understand that it's spying on me, but, and like if I was ever going to do stuff of a Hawaiian shirt nature, obviously I'm not bringing that with me. That's not going to be on my wrist at that point.
Nope.
In fact, if you've never seen smartwatches through night vision, you should maybe go ahead and look up what that looks like.
Oh, it's
literally a strobe that I can see with night vision from 1,000 meters away.
Yeah. You are painting yourself as a target.
It is insane. But Right. I'm not shitting on wearables, but what I am saying is that this being a thing that the government is now suggesting, the government is now going, oh, everyone should do that. Anytime the government tells you something's a good idea, it should give you pause, especially when they say it's a good idea for your own good. That should give you pause, and you should go, why do you want me to do
That's
that?
automatically a red flag for me. Is nope, not going to do it. No.
Yeah.
Because
I'm not doing it. It's
see, I don't wear anything on my wrists. I used to wear a watch, and I stopped for a while, and I just haven't gotten back into wearing one again. And I was actively thinking about getting some sort of a smart device for my wrist. But once I read this article, I'm like, no, I don't think I will.
yeah, but it starts out with them saying, well, it's for your own good, it's for your own health, it's for, that's what it's for, right? It's to encourage you to be healthy. And then it becomes, hey, a bunch of people still haven't gone out and gotten one, maybe because they can't afford it. Now government's going to subsidize it, and they're going to go ahead and pay for it. I don't know if you know this, but if you get a health-oriented smart device, a smartwatch that's specifically for heart monitor, blah, 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 right? For like outdoor activities and things, not just like a Galaxy Gear, right? Not just an Apple Watch, but like specifically like one of the active lifestyle ones that can be covered where you can pay for it with your HSA.
Yep.
Or FSA. All you need is a letter from a certified health professional. It says, yes, this person could benefit from this for their health. And all you really need for that is, hey, there's a history of heart disease or obesity in my family, and I'm looking to get more active. Okay, this is for that. And then you can spend your HSA or FSA money on it and you get it, right? That's literally how I got mine. Because mine's normally like almost $500. So that's how I got mine, is with my HSA money. Which somebody was like, oh, so you got it like basically free. And I'm like, no, that was my money.
Right.
You don't understand how HSA money works. That's my money.
Now, there are some employers out there that will help contribute 25% of your annual maximum contribution to your HSA. And to those employers, I say good on you. But by and large, no, it's your money pre-tax going into your HSA to help one, reduce how much money you have to give the government, because fuck them guys. And two, it's your money. Fucking use it. Because you can only roll over so much year over year.
Well, and on top of that, right? On top of that, you may not know this. I would bet actually probably a lot of people don't realize this, but if you have obesity listed as a symptom on your medical history and you have Medicaid will pay once every few years for a Fitbit.
I did not know that.
They will, in fact, pay for a Fitbit. So, and there's certain health insurance, like I think United Healthcare is one. There's probably a couple others. There's certain health insurance companies that will also, they'll also pay for like a Fitbit or something of that nature every so often for you to try and encourage you to be more active. Now, I know that it does. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't. It definitely does, because like my smartwatch harassing me definitely makes me get up and move because it's just annoying enough. But it also feels like it like straight up patronizes me sometimes. Like the other day when I was at work, like I'd been trying to work on a bunch of paperwork and all sorts of stuff because I'm a manager, so I get way more paperwork than any human being should ever have to deal with. But I was at work and like I'd been sitting for a while working on all this paperwork, and then I stood up and like I was walking around doing a couple things on my sales floor. And all of a sudden, my watch is like, you stood this hour. Great. And I'm like, that is the most patronized. Congratulations, fat ass. You managed to get up. You fat tub of lard. You got off your fat ass and you started moving around. Good for you. Like,
so
it starts to get passive aggressive.
So at my new job, where I'm at now, it's fantastic. I have a sit to stand desk, right? But mine has an electric motor that's programmable. So I have mine set so every 2 hours it will automatically rise up to make me stand.
See, that would be annoying because I know that I would be mid-sentence typing and I'd have to just start. You'd wind
That
up
has
looking like
happened.
Victor Borgia. You know what I mean? Like, you'd just.
That has happened once or twice. It's kind of funny because this week we had a lightning strike, and it cost us, or it caused over $60,000 in technical damage. And so I was working on reprogramming spare equipment, and all of a sudden it's like, you mother.
See, I know. That's why I wouldn't want that, because I know that that's what'll happen every fucking time. I'll be right in the middle of something. I'll be like, no, wait. Or like I'll be trying to write, I'll be like, as per my previous 2 emails, and then it'll start going up. And I'm just like, no, I'm trying to rage. Let me be passive aggressive, you technological dickweed.
But I did that simply because I have the sit to stand desk, and without it being on a schedule to raise up every 2 hours for a half an hour and then lower back down, I never used it because I was so used to not having that when I was at my last job that I was like, oh, I have a desk. I'm just going to sit here and do my shit. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, I should probably, mother.
Yep. And now you can stand up. The funny thing too is, like, I hear sit, stand, and I think improv. And if you've ever done improv, there's an improv exercise called sit, stand, lie down, where it's 3 guys, or 3 people who are given a scene, and then one of them always has to be sitting, one standing, one laying down. And all I can think is like a sit, stand, lie down desk. And I'm like, I just leave it on that last setting and be like, fuck you guys, I'm staying in bed. You need a new office chair? Nah, I got day bed. It's just chilling, and like, I'm gonna look like fucking hedonism bot while I'm writing my reports. You know what I mean? Like, I just pull grapes. Oh. There's been a lot of deep cut cultural references already in the first 42 minutes of the show. But where do we want to go from here? Do we want to do a funny one?
So does that deep cultural reference include the screaming eagle hat that I sent you a picture of?
Dude, on the 4th of July, I am posting that meme that I made out of that. Like, that is getting posted. That is going to be my profile picture for the 4th of July. I am looking forward to it. It will be revealed.
If anybody's wondering what I'm talking about, my wife and I yesterday were at a place called Dunham's up in Wausau, Wisconsin. And there they have these hats where there is an eagle literally coming out the front of the hat. And there's actually, I didn't show you, Andrew, but on the back you can see the tail feathers sticking out. This shit's hilarious.
Oh, God.
And I sent it to you because I was like, point of view, if you're staring at this hat, you feel like Andrew.
You kill one freedom chicken, no one ever lets you forget.
And the meme that if you're not following Andrew on social medias or you're not following the channel on Facebook, do so, because that's where Andrew's going to post it.
Don't ruin that piece of glory. People need to see that piece of glory when it comes out. That is,
I'm not going to share it here. Nothing like that. I'm going to let you do it on both the Telegram channel and the Facebook page.
That is the most beautiful goddamn thing ever created. Most patriotic fucking image that has ever existed in the history of planet Earth, and I cannot wait. That image alone is what caused the peace deal between Israel and Iran. Okay, just that.
I mean, it's entirely possible.
Okay, so do we want to do a funny article? Do you want my hidden article? I have a hidden article this time.
You do, huh?
I do have
is it going to enrage me, or is it going to make me laugh?
I think it's going to enrage you and then make you cackle hysterically. Well, or make you cackle hysterically and then enrage you. I don't know.
I mean, as long as it's a good, healthy mix of the two, I'm in. Let's go.
It personally, I find it glorious. This is from The Guardian. Harvard hired a researcher to uncover its ties to slavery. He says the results cost him his job. Quote, "We found too many slaves," end quote.
Read that again.
Harvard hired a researcher to uncover its ties to slavery. The results cost him his job. Quote, "We found too many slaves." When the extent of the university's involvement with slavery was unearthed, a scholar tracking descendants of enslaved workers was suddenly fired. Jordan Lloyd had been praying for something big to happen. The 35-year-old screenwriter was quarantining in her apartment in North Hollywood in June 2020. Without any work projects to fill her days, she picked up the novel Roots by Alex Haley to reread. The novel tells the story of Kunta Kinte, Haley's ancestor, who is captured and sold into slavery in Gambia and then brought to Virginia, where he is forced to labor on a plantation. It was adapted into an Emmy Award-winning television series you may have heard of in the 1970s, and while reading again, Lloyd thought to herself, wouldn't it be nice if they could make another Roots? A few days later, out of the blue, she received an email from an undergraduate student at Harvard University in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The email was short. The woman introduced herself as Carissa Chen, a junior at the college studying history. She was working on an independent research project to find descendants of enslaved people connected to the university. By using historical records and modern genealogy tools, she had found Lloyd. Quote, "I have reason to believe through archival research that you could be the descendant of Tony and Cuba Vassal, two slaves taken from Antigua by a founding member connected to Harvard University," the email read. "Are you available anytime for a call?" The note linked to a website containing a family tree that Chen had created, tracing the lineage of people enslaved by Isaac Royal Jr., an Antiguan planter and businessman whose endowment would eventually create Harvard Law School. Chen hadn't expected to find any living descendants, she told The Guardian, but through dogged research, she managed to uncover 50 names and found Lloyd through an old website she had made when she first moved to Los Angeles. It all felt too specific to be a scam, Lloyd recounted, so she agreed to a call that would eventually blow open everything she thought she knew about her family history, linking her with one of the nation's most prestigious institutions and launching a phase in her life that would be colored with equal parts joy and pain. So though contradicts,
interesting use of words.
Yeah, right. Though it contradicts a common perception of colonial New England, enslaved people were brought to work in northern cities in North America as well. In her book, New England Bound, the historian Wendy Warren records the remarks of one European traveler who noted in 1687 that, quote, "There is not a house in Boston, however small may be its means, that has not one or two," and in the article it says enslaved people. We can assume they say Negroes. As the country's oldest and wealthiest university, Harvard's history is inextricable from the history of transatlantic slavery. The enslaved labored in campus buildings, university presidents and professors owned people forced into bondage, and the school's wealth grew through a circle of donors intimately connected to the plantation system in the Caribbean, the American South, and the trafficking of enslaved Africans across the Atlantic. Harvard began informally to research its relationship to slavery as early as 2007, blah, blah, blah. In 2016, then Harvard president Drew Faust acknowledged the university was, quote, "directly complicit," end quote, in slavery. And in 2022, the university released an official report, Harvard and the Legacy of Slavery, which detailed its history over more than 100 pages.
Wait.
So
they have a 100+ page detailed history of the ties of Harvard University to slavery.
So basically, a guy, to skip through a bunch of this article, I'll post the link eventually in the description and stuff. But basically, if anybody wants to read it, but basically, this dude does research for Georgetown and uncovers about 272 slaves that Georgetown University directly utilized. Which is, awkward for a Jesuit school. But he uncovers that. he gets hired by Harvard in 2022 to start looking into theirs. When he started the research, Harvard had already identified the names of 70 people that had been enslaved with ties to the university. Over the course of the past 3 years, working alongside American Ancestors, the country's preeminent genealogical institute, Cellini and his researchers have identified more than 900 people that had been enslaved by the university and its affiliates, faculty, staff, people, and leadership positions, and nearly 500 of their direct living descendants. It wasn't long after the work began to pick up steam that Cellini started running into trouble. In March 2023, he said he was asked to meet with the project's executive director, Roshana Moore Evans, and the Harvard staff member overseeing the initiative, the public health professor and vice provost for special projects, Sarah Bleak. These informal meetings were held in a boardroom in the Student Center. It was here and during extended phone calls that Cellini claims he was told repeatedly by Bleak not to find too many descendants. At one point, the fear was expressed if we found too many descendants, it would bankrupt the university, because the university wanted to find them so they could pay reparations and make amends. Ugh. And once they realized how many, because this is how human history works.
Well, yeah, it's not like it's a linear function of a family tree. There's a root system and lots of branches.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? So this is where that whole slavery reparations thing doesn't make any sense. This is why part of why I wanted to bring this up. It's also because I think it's hilarious that they're like, well, we want to know just how bad it was, and they're like, oh God, it's way too bad, we're firing you. Like,
I mean, yeah, that's
stop
wild.
making us look so bad. Well, you were pretty fucking terrible, so. But here's the thing, right? People...
can you say we're pretty fucking terrible? They are pretty fucking terrible. They're openly
they still
racist today.
Yeah, Harvard's fucking awful, right? But like Harvard's one of those Ivy League universities that loves to breed all the hyper left, progressive, communist. We need to pay slave reparations and white people bad and all this other shit, right? That's part of what I think is hilarious here is that it turns out that there was a lot of slaves at Harvard. And
I mean,
also,
is anybody really shocked? I mean, the ivory towers were evident all the way back then.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, so here's where this kind of thing always proves to be massively hypocritical, right? Is those of us who oppose this entire concept of slave reparations go, but you're asking people who never owned slaves to pay money to people who never were slaves because at some point somebody owned slaves that this other person was descended from.
But it sounds, based on the contents of the article, it sounds almost like the university itself might have been a slave owner.
The university itself never officially owned slaves, but departments within the university had faculty who owned slaves that they then used to do things that the university directly benefited from. As a matter of course.
That's it. Burn the university down.
So, yeah, like, I mean, I'm all for that. But
I'm not saying anybody out there that might be listening to this should do
we're figuratively saying burn the university down. We're not literally saying, we're saying like just destroy the university, not like
that falls under the category of things that I'm in favor of happening from Washington right now, where it wasn't that long ago the White House said we're cutting off federal funding for research projects at Harvard. I'm okay with that. Just saying.
But here's what this is why I wanted to bring up this article and why I wanted to see your reaction to the there's 1,000 slaves that the university used. And
right.
they went, we're going to pay reparations to their descendants. Oh shit, there's a lot of descendants from 1,000 fucking people.
So we're just going to sweep that shit under the rug, pretend like that never happened. Never mind.
Never mind. You're fired.
We're
Never
good.
mind. This is it's I will post that in the Telegram, the link to it and stuff, so people can look at it. If you want to read it. It's a really lengthy, very, very in-depth, very well written article. Super, super interesting. Highly recommend you check it out. But I thought it was hilarious.
Oh, it's hysterical. And
we want to find them so that we can pay reparations to their descendants, because what they wanted was performative bullshit. Right? Like always with these people, they wanted performative bullshit.
They were going to find these people and be like, oh, there's probably like 70 or 80 people. We'll give each one of them a check or a scholarship.
A scholarship. Yeah, we'll give them a scholarship to the university. Hey, look at this. We're actually doing reparations. See, you can do it too. And that was their plan. And then the moment that they realized, oh no, this is actually going to bankrupt the university entirely.
Right.
Trying to do this. And why are we doing this for people who were never slaves? And we never even owned them. Like, all of a sudden they backtrack that. And it's like, oh, suddenly you have the same argument that we all do. We never owned slaves. I never owned slaves. My ancestors never owned slaves. My ancestors were fucking slaves.
I was going to say, a chunk of your ancestors probably were slaves here in the States. My
ancestors were slaves. I have at least 2 people in my genealogy that I know of for sure who were enslaved in Barbados. So, like,
oh, man.
my ancestors were slaves. My family never owned slaves. My family never even showed up in the United States until the 19-teens. So they obviously never owned slaves. And yet you want to sit there and demand that my tax dollars, my money that's being stolen from me, goes to pay people who were never slaves. So you want somebody who not only never owned a slave, but even their ancestors never owned slaves, and their ancestors were themselves enslaved, to pay someone who was never a slave, and their grandparents weren't slaves, and their grandparents may or may not have been slaves. You want me to pay them money.
And it's funny, but it's not at the same time, because I look back at my family tree, and like on my dad's side, we've only been in this country for like 100 years. Right?
It's about how long my family's been here, right around 100 years.
But if you go on my mom's side, I have a direct ancestor who's a signatory of the Declaration of Independence. So he very well may have been a slave owner, and I have no fucking clue.
Almost certainly was. Certainly was. Very few of them were not.
If you want to look him up, his name is Josiah Bartlett. Not a very well-known signatory, but he is definitely one of them.
Bartlett? Yeah, Josiah. He was an interesting character, actually. He's actually one of those that does get talked about. Bartlett gets talked about for sure. But anyway, yeah, so I thought that was funny. I'm going to do another hilarious one because I wanted to talk about this one in the worst fucking way. I headline this is why you leave cream out for the Fae.
Is this the magic beans?
Yes, driver named Patches Magic Beans, high on mushrooms, arrested in crash that nearly killed construction worker. A Wisconsin man named
apparently
Patches Magic Beans.
We're trying to compete with Florida man, and I don't like it.
A Wisconsin man named Patches Magic Beans seriously injured a worker when he crashed his van into a piece of construction equipment while allegedly high on magic mushrooms, cops said. Patches Magic Beans, 34, of Wisconsin, was swerving and weaving on Highway 61 in Silver Creek, Minnesota, around 3:50 p.m. on June 19th when his van hit a curb and several traffic cones before barreling into a scissor lift, which was being used by a pair of construction workers fixing a light. The vehicle then smashed into the wall of the Lafayette Tunnel and rolled several times before coming to a stop, court documents state. Benjamin Kidd, 27, one of the workers atop the scissor lift during the crash, was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. He remains in critical condition, local outlet Northern News Now reported. Another worker using the lift, Bradley Koschuk, 37, told cops he heard the sound of Magic Bean's van. He heard the sound of Magic Bean's van hitting the cones just in time to see the vehicle racing toward him. He quickly grabbed the lift's rail system to pull himself up and managed to hang on to the light fixture for dear life until police helped him down. Cops at the scene said Magic Beans appeared to be intoxicated after the crash and that he was babbling incoherently and possibly hallucinating, grasping at objects in the air that were not actually there. Court documents said his eyes were blown and noted he became combative with rescue workers attempting to get him out of the van.
I mean, the dude's probably tripping balls on fucking shrooms, and he's like, because I don't do it.
Somebody didn't leave cream out, so he had to get to our realm somehow to punish these people. Those men should have left some cream out for the Fae, okay? And he showed up and he was like, "Oh, what do you think you're doing then?" And rammed them with a van.
Oh, and he looks Irish as fuck. Too.
Yeah. Well, his name is fucking Patches Magic Beans, lad. The hell do you think he is? German. Yes, the Portuguese man, Patches Magic Beans. I mean, it's obvious that he's going to be Irish.
The dude probably had his name legally changed to Patrick Magic Beans. Dude's probably named like Patrick fucking McGovern or something. I mean, that'd still be Irish or Scottish, but still, dude. I mean,
or his parents were also on psilocybin-containing mushrooms when he was born. They later found psilocybin mushrooms in his car, which Magic Beans initially claimed he had foraged. He claimed he had foraged them, but later changed his story and admitted they were, in fact, magic mushrooms. See? He even said they were magic. The man is a fae. Don't give him your real name. Also, don't accept any gifts from him or give him any. He allegedly said he, quote, had a small one the day before along with an edible, though he insisted his blood test would come back negative for drugs. Results of the blood test are still pending. Magic Beans was charged with 2 counts of criminal vehicular operation, 1 count of controlled substance crime in the 2nd degree. He's being held at Lake County Jail on a $75,000 bail, and his next court appearance is scheduled for August. Magic Beans' Instagram page, where he describes himself as a womb wisdom keeper, features an image of him on the cover of the Brainerd Dispatch newspaper last July under the headline Corn Juggler, a caption describing him as a fruit vendor who juggles ears of corn from his roadside stand to catch attention of motorists on the roadway. And that final paragraph is the greatest.
Not only is he Irish, he's an Irish clown.
I just want to point out that if you see a man juggling ears of corn at his fruit stand on the side of the road outside Brainerd, and his Instagram page says he's a womb wisdom keeper, the fact that his name is Patches Magic Bean is in fact the least weird thing about that man.
Yeah, probably.
What? Patches Magic Bean?
They're after his Lucky Charms.
Again, this is what happens to out-of-work fae, right? No one's looking for gold under rainbows anymore. No one's willing to make deals to save their sick children or anything. So this is what they're reduced to: juggling corn by fruit stands on the side of the highway in northern Minnesota.
You know, I wonder, and this is a really terrible segue, but I wonder if he's also a beekeeper.
Well, thank God for the police that he's not.
So the next story is from Vice News. It says beekeeper unleashed a swarm of bees on police during a traffic stop. A routine seatbelt stop turned into an insect ambush when a 70-year-old beekeeper in Sevilla, Spain, allegedly sicked his bees on 2 traffic officers. Dude literally...
What is that? What is that? What is it? Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah!
I'm sorry. No. What popped in my head was bees! Bees in the car! Bees everywhere! Frank, I'm allergic to bees. Me too! We'll come back and check on you later. Tommy boy.
Not the bees. All I can think of is not the bees. I have to say, though, so here's the thing, right? It says the incident happened just after 1 p.m. on a Friday along the N2 highway in the Catalonian town. Police say they pulled over a van for erratic driving and noticed the man behind the wheel wasn't wearing a seatbelt. What they didn't expect was the driver to respond with, "I should have run you over," before refusing a second breathalyzer test and threatening to kill them. Then came the bees.
According to multiple sources, the man walked calmly back to the back of his van, opened the door, and released a swarm of honeybees directly at the officers. The insects attacked immediately, stinging both cops and forcing them to seek shelter in a nearby restaurant. Restaurant patrons reportedly stepped in to help, guiding the officers to safety while the bees buzzed through the entrance.
And I just want to say, okay, I just want to say, like, that the bees immediately attacked them as soon as he opened the doors, and that the patrons, based on this, experienced no bee attack.
No, it was just the cops.
Came in through the entrance at the cops. The man has personal attack bees, and where do I get those?
I would love to have some. I mean, I'm not allowed to have, technically I'm not allowed to have livestock where I live, but I could
They're
probably
fish.
make.
Remember California?
That's right. According to California, they're fish. I could probably make a case for having a hive of attack bees.
I want a small jar of attack bees on me at all times. Because, like,
what would you rather have, attack bees or pocket sand?
No, I want attack bees. I want attack. You know what? I would love attack bees in my trunk where somebody can, like, I can have some Karen come up to me. Why'd you have to double park? That's so stupid. And well, because I don't want door dings. Well, what you get to just take up those spaces. You just get to. It's what do you do? Ah, the bees.
Andrew's driving down the road. The back ass end of his car is dragging on the ground because of the honeycomb in his trunk.
No, just like all of a sudden somebody's tailgating me, hit a button, trunk opens, boom.
Then you legitimately have bees in the car, bees everywhere.
Or you could just, like, you want to end a conversation that's super awkward where somebody's just talking, you're like, and so then I said to Brandy, that it's, what do you, bees. It'd be beautiful. It's better. That's an emotional support attack bee population.
An emotional support attack swarm.
It's my emotional support bee swarm. Man, if you had them if you have a cloud of angry bees that aren't attacking just over your head at all times, no one is screwing with you. No one is screwing with you.
And actually, that's entirely doable as long as you're like have a friendly queen, and you can keep her in a box on your hat. You could have a swarm of bees just follow you around.
See, that'd be awesome.
I mean, it wouldn't last very long because the bees would eventually starve to death because they don't have any comb. But
you bring them home to their comb, right? You have the comb and everything at home. You take out your attack bees with you.
So,
it'd be fantastic. The man did flee the scene but didn't get far. Police tracked him down shortly after, arrested him, and took a statement. He was released on bail within a few hours. Both officers were taken to an urgent care center, treated with cortisone for their stings. But this is the thing. No one else was injured. Again, I want to reiterate, these were trained attack bees.
This week, a local newspaper, I'm not even going to try, reported that the man may have been judicially acquitted of assault, though the information hasn't been officially confirmed. So possibly he assaulted officers within a swarm of attack bees, and he's going to get acquitted of assault. I'm okay with it.
There's no official word on what happened to the bees, but if anyone's looking for the wildest use of a natural weapon, that might be it. I love that he just calmly walks to the back and is like, "Huh, that's interesting. Bees," and just unleashes them. You're under arrest for drunk driving. Interesting, but counterpoint.
Bees.
Bees. Like, is this man in fact?
You would like me to do a field sobriety? Absolutely. Let me get my shoes out of the back of the truck. I'm driving without shoes on. Let me go get my actual shoes. All right, let's just bees.
Bees. Like I said, though, then think of all of the uses in your life for attack bees. So many uses for attack bees.
Daily use object.
You could walk into the DMV and be like, I could wait in line and take a number, or bees. Oh, look, there's nobody else here. Sorry, I didn't want to take a number. Is that a problem? It's just behind you. No, that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. Please, just no bees.
You get the reputation of that's the bee guy. Don't fuck with him.
Yeah. Do not argue with a man capable of vapid assault. That is it's just that for me, it's the fact that no one else was stung. That the bees were not interested in anyone.
All they cared about was stinging the cops. Well, I mean, from one local authority to another, and we're still on the livestock theme, so she got a permit for her chickens. Now the city is fining her $80,000.
Oh, Takesies, Backsies, and guess where this is from? That's right, the People's Republic of Michigan.
And the Communist Party of Michigan, let's be honest.
It's the United Soviet Socialist Republic of Michigan, everyone. Back again, the city of Douglas, Michigan is determined to take the free out of free range. In 2023, Catherine Sarkeesian, a resident of the Lake Michigan tourist town, wanted to do something that seemed simple enough: raise chickens in her backyard. She then sought and received a permit directly from the city authorizing her to do so. Barely a month later, the city pulled an about-face telling Sarkeesian that she would have to get rid of her chickens on account of a neighbor's complaint. Douglas originally passed its chicken ordinance in 2020, which gives neighbors a 21-day period within which to object to nearby chicken permit requests. This process wasn't followed, though, since the neighbor's complaint came after the city had already issued Sarkeesian's permit.
So she already had the permit, which means the complaint period was closed. 21 days. Nobody complained. She got her chickens. And now the city is saying, oh, sorry, takesy backsies, don't care.
Yeah, oops, did we say you could have them? We forgot the NT at the end. Couldn't. The city claimed that it had forgotten to notify the neighbors of their right to object during the review process and had therefore done so retroactively. Since one neighbor ended up objecting, Sarkeesian was told she'd have to get rid of her chickens. In the meantime, Sarkeesian...
No. You fucked up. You did not inform them. It's not my responsibility to inform them. It's yours. It says right there. The process wasn't followed because the complaint came after the city had already issued the permit. The city claimed it had forgotten to notify the neighbors. That's the city's fuck up, not the person with the chickens.
Yep, the
It's
city.
not her responsibility to adhere to your bullshit laws because you fucked up. Eat shit.
So here's what happens. The city goes, yeah, sure, you can have chickens, and goes, oh wait, we forgot to tell these people. Oh, we will retroactively, even though it's beyond the deadline, we will retroactively notify them. Oops, one of them complained. Oh, well, I guess paperwork says you don't get to have them anymore. Meanwhile, Sarkeesian has spent $23,000 building a chicken coop and a privacy fence to shield the chickens from view. When Sarkeesian refused to budge, the city began assessing a $300 per day fine in November of 2024. This means she is currently facing nearly $80,000 in fines for her refusal to comply with the city's demands that, again, are retroactive after they issued her the permit.
Retroactive and their fault.
Worse yet, the city hasn't even clarified when the tolling period for the fine started. If it started from the time she began raising the chickens, the fines would now total over $200,000.
So we've covered other stories in the past about people who haven't mowed their lawns and the city starts racking up some absurd levels of fines on those homeowners, and it ends up being some crazy number like $200,000 or what have you. And when that gets challenged in court, it gets struck down as cruel and unusual.
And here's the thing, right? Do you know how many chickens Sarkeesian has? 6.
Oh no. 6 chickens.
6 chickens. 6.
Oh my God. 6 birds.
6. $200,000 in fines, 6 chickens. Earlier this month, Sarkeesian
and she spent 23 grand on a setup for 6 birds.
For 6 birds, and not only that, did she spend all this money to make sure the birds were comfortable and everything. There's a privacy fence so that no one even has to look at the chickens.
And it keeps, I mean, they don't have to look at them. It keeps them in the yard. They're well contained. There's no reason anybody would ever complain about that unless they were a fucking Karen who couldn't help but stick their nose over the fence.
So she also mentions Sarkeesian is being quoted here. She said, I was raised in a family that loves this country, believes in our freedom, that's grateful for people who fought and who still fight for our freedoms. And those freedoms and rights are very near and dear to me. Earlier this month, Sarkeesian decided to make her protest official by suing the city of Douglas in federal court with the assistance of the Pacific Legal Foundation, PLF, and the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund. Specifically, her suit alleges that the city's ordinance violates her due process rights under the 14th Amendment, because it absolutely does. You already issued the fire permit. Even if the city had followed the proper timing protocols for neighbor objections, the lawsuit notes that the ordinance's wording still inherently runs afoul of due process rights. That's because the ordinance provides no clear standard, no ability for Sarkeesian to appeal or contest her neighbor's complaint, and no right to a hearing. According to PLF's complaint, this effectively gives her neighbor a standardless and unreviewable veto over Kathy's use of her own property.
Is it really your property, though? Can they not just take it when they fucking feel like it?
Well, yes, but they like to try and pretend elsewise, don't they? So this is the thing, though, is that is exactly what's going on. Like, essentially, what this ordinance does is it turns a city and city government into an HOA, but with even fewer rights than an HOA gives you.
Which is scary, because an HOA literally says, oh, you live in our neighborhood, and so we have more or less complete dominion over your property.
Yeah. The city of Douglas isn't the only Michigan town that has recently tried to clamp down on backyard fowl. Earlier this year, a local court in Oakland County, Michigan, struck down a different city's anti-chicken ordinance. I just love that phrase, anti-chicken ordinance. I want a t-shirt that says down with all anti-chicken ordinances.
You know, it's kind of funny because like Tim Pool has a skateboard that is printed with the text of the so-called 28th Amendment, the proposed 28th Amendment. The right to keep and raise chickens shall not be infringed.
That would be great. Early this year, local court in Oakland County, Michigan, struck down a different city's anti-chicken ordinance, ruling it to be unconstitutionally vague. On the other hand, the city of Detroit, of all places, recently greenlit the ability of residents to raise ducks, chickens, and honeybees.
Bees!
As of this writing, the ultimate fate of Sarkeesian 6 chickens.
Wait, hold up. We got to go back to the previous paragraph. They're allowed the city of Detroit, which has like the second highest violent crime rate in the country, is greenlighting people to have honeybees, which the previous article tells us can be trained to be attack bees. This sounds like Mad Max with a buzz.
Yo, I will roll up on you. I will roll up on you with my honeybees, and you won't even see it coming. You won't even hear the buzzing, fool. Imagine a drive-by.
Instead of a drive-by, they like roll up, flip up the back end of the U-Haul, and yo, fool! I'm allergic.
Yeah. Oh man! I'm allergic. I'm gonna die. Just like putting murder hornets in a slingshot.
Right?
Bing. Anyway, as of this writing, the ultimate fate of Sarkeesian 6 chickens, lovingly named Sugar, Sunshine, Cinnamon, Butter, Piper, and Queen Isabella, remains undetermined. But Sarkeesian is not backing down, nor does she regret her decision to sue. Are you kidding me? She said to M Live, "This is our right. These are my chickens." That's right. That's right, Kathy. They are your chickens. Fight the good fight. Also, maybe invest in attack bees. Can you imagine rather like Killdozer, like you just show up at a city council meeting with just like 3 hives worth of very angry attack wasps? Get them, boys. Bees. Oh. All right. Which one do we want to cover next? Because I think we only have 2 more articles that we actually have here. Because somehow I managed to actually time this well this time.
Well, if we run end up short of time, we'll fill the extra time.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Do you want to talk about cowards or an actual win?
Well, I don't think there's really there is a win. There is a win. I think because we talked about RFK, we do need to talk about this next one. I'll be right back, but if you want to start kind of reading this next one, I call Ghasp. I'm shocked. What a complete shock. I am floored. Floored, I tell you. I never would have expected that the president and the Congress, who promised us all sorts of shit the first time around when he was number 45 and then delivered none of that shit, even though all these people were dumb enough to believe it, that he then is doing the same thing again. And all you stupid fucks keep falling for it again and again and again. And I don't know how you don't just see this coming.
And I see the article that you have here for this, Andrew, and I've actually heard of a few updates to it, so I'll add to it while you go. And just hurry back because you're going to want to hear this. Hopefully you can hear this all the way in your bathroom.
Oh, yeah, I definitely can.
Okay. So this one is from guns.com. Hearing Protection Act and Short stripped from Big Beautiful Bill. The Senate parliamentarian has deleted popular NFA reforms from the pending Republican-backed reconciliation bill. Section 70436, elimination of tax on certain devices under the National Firearms Act, was deleted from H.R. 1, better known as the One Big Beautiful Bill, according to a statement issued early Friday from the Senate Budget Committee's ranking Democrat, Senator Jeff Merkley. Senate Dems had pressured the chamber's nonpartisan, and I use that term extremely loosely, parliamentarian to remove the gun reform from language as part of the bird's bath under the Congressional Budget Act, which bars non-budgetary provisions from reconciliation legislation, bills that can be passed with a simple majority vote. Removing the regulatory structure for firearm silencers is thus not only dangerous, but blatantly violative of the Byrd Rule, contends a letter from Democrats on Capitol Hill to Senate committees. Put simply, the provision represents a clear attempt to make a significant policy change to a century-old law that cannot be adopted through the reconciliation process on that bias or basis alone.
Okay, so let me interrupt here because it's very, very important that I interrupt here because here is the thing, right? Here's the thing. Why? Why did they say that it should be stripped out? They said that it should be stripped out because this is a budgetary bill. This has to do with financial matters of the United States government, and therefore these things do not fall under that. However,
they do.
Why was the NFA allowed to go through despite the Second Amendment back in 1934? Because the argument was it's not a regulation of those items. It's a tax regarding those items.
Right.
And taxes and what is and isn't taxed would fall under what?
Reconciliation.
Budget and reconciliation. So therefore, now you have a catch-22 here because either it is simply a tax, which makes the National Firearms Act of 1934 and the subsequent Gun Control Act of 1968 legal because they are simply taxes and therefore not an infringement because they're not regulations. And in that instance, if that is in fact the case, then it should be allowed in to this bill and these things should be able to be in that bill, or they are not taxes and are in fact regulatory, which would make them violations of the Second Amendment, which would make them invalidated and unconstitutional. And therefore, you can have it in this bill, but it doesn't matter because they were illegal in the first place.
Yep. They literally tripped themselves in this one. Now, the update that I have on this is I have heard and I've seen articles on that the instead of there being a $200 tax on each one and the elimination of the registration requirement pursuant thereof, the new version of the bill still requires the registration. So you still have to get fingerprinted. You still got to file your Form 4 or your Form 1 or whatever. But there's no $200 fee anymore, which makes it really interesting because in the ruling in 1936, I think it was, pursuant to the NFA, the only thing that made the registry component constitutional was the fact that there was a tax requirement for that registration.
Right. Because
so in the event that they throw it, right. So in the event that they toss the tax requirement for that registration, now the registration falls in a violation of the Constitution because of the original ruling in Miller.
Right. And so here's the thing, and this is why I say you dumb fucks keep falling for this shit and keep believing it. The Big Beautiful Bill was pushed for by a whole bunch of pro-gun rights groups that are also fairly pro-Trump, going, you should support this bill because it's going to change these regulations. Right? And so what happens is all of these people start calling their senators and start pushing their senators, everything else. You need to support this. You need to support this. You need to support this, blah, blah, blah. This is about freedom. You need to support this. And the moment that all these people do that, they pull that legislation out of this bill. And yet you guys keep falling for it. Oh, this politician will save us. Oh, this time this politician will save us. Oh, this Congress will save us. This president will save us from government overreach. No, it will not. They will not. None of these people are your friends. None of these people are your allies. They never have been. They never will be. And yet you keep falling for the same exact shit every single time. It does not matter if the wolf in sheep's clothing is wearing a white sheep's clothing, a black sheep's clothing, a gray sheep's clothing. It's dressed as a llama or an alpaca. It's still a wolf. And if you fall for that, you're a moron. No politician is going to give you the ability to get more freedom. That is never going to happen.
No, we've said it 1,000 times before on this show, and we're going to say it 1,000 times again. They only exist to serve themselves. None of them give a fuck about your individual liberty. None of them give a fuck about anything that pertains to self-reliance and self-sufficiency. What they care about is their own power. That's it. Period. End of story. The only potential, and I say potential because it's an important thing. The only potential caveat to that in terms of people in government, in the elected sphere of government, that may run counter to that are people like Thomas Massie and, to a lesser extent, Rand Paul.
And Thomas Massie, don't forget, has run afoul of Trump multiple times, and Trump has condemned Massie almost to the level that he has condemned Elon Musk for opposing him every time he does. And of course, the Trumpkins, because they're part of the cult of personality, they don't actually believe in freedom. They just want God Emperor Trump and will do anything he says. They go, yeah, Massey's a moron. Massey's terrible. He's awful. Even though 10 minutes ago they were going, yeah, that thing that Massey did is great. The moment that Trump goes, no, it's bad, they're like, it's bad.
And Massey, honestly, Massey is the better embodiment of the so-called MAGA movement than Trump could ever be.
I am far more of a fan of MAFA than MAGA, which is Make America free again.
Yep, absolutely. Because
give us our fucking freedom back. But you know what? The reality is you're never going to get that out of politicians, right? You have 3 boxes with which to express yourself. You know the rest of that if you watch this show.
Yes. Fuck it. I'll say it out loud. You have the soapbox, which is what Andrew and I are doing right now. You have the ballot box, which hasn't been relevant in decades. And you have, I'm not going to say it, but I am going to illustrate it. And you have the third box.
And then you have this one.
You have the third box. And the third box is the one that the people of Athens, Tennessee exercised in 1946.
We have an episode on that if you would be interested in it and are unfamiliar. Please go back and look up the Battle of Athens in our library and watch that, because it is a very in-depth coverage and breakdown of the Battle of Athens.
I will admit there were some things in our breakdown of the Battle of Athens that we missed. That a recent very famous YouTuber broke down a little better, but we didn't miss a whole lot. Enjoy our breakdown and then go and watch his. If you know who I'm talking about, it's the chubby electron guy.
Yeah, he gets tagged on my videos all the time, and it still annoys me. Stop tagging him on my videos. He doesn't care.
No, he don't give a shit.
He doesn't care. Stop tagging him on them.
But bottom line is, the last time, if you think anything has changed, if you paid attention to the Battle of Athens stuff, if you think anything has changed from 1946 to now in terms of the validity of the ballot box, you clearly haven't been paying attention.
Well, and you know, the thing is that it's, you look at this, you look at what's going on here, and this is either they knew it was going to get ripped out and this was intentionally done to deceive people, or maybe they did this as a strategic move long term. Either way, they lied to you.
Yes. Because ultimately that's what those in power do. They lie to the people in order to retain power, and then they do absolutely nothing. But then the next time around, when they want you to keep them in power, or when they want to retain power, they say, oh, I couldn't get enough support under the last one, so if you give me power again, I'm going to do it this time. I promise.
Oh, sorry. Did I not do? This time I'll definitely do this thing. This time I'll definitely. And it's, again, that adding this shit to the big beautiful bill and blah blah blah. Again, the word I constantly wind up using is performative. It's theater. Okay.
Yes, that's all the election cycle is. It's all theater. It's all, vote for me, I'm going to do this. And then when they don't do it, oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't get that done this time. I'll do it next time. And I'll do it next time. And I'll do it next time. Ad nauseum. But when it comes to taking away from you, like the AI provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill, or the Palantir provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill.
Here's the question. Here's a good question. Since you brought that up, why is this getting stripped out? Because it's about regulation, and the AI provisions are not.
Right. Which has nothing to do with revenue or budget reconciliation. It has everything to do with just straight up regulation. This at least has a tax component to it. Hey, we're dropping the tax, and because we're dropping the tax, we're dropping the regulations.
Yep. But this is at least tangentially connected to budget.
Especially when you look at the amount of money the ATF has collected over the last, I think last year they collected something like $200 million in tax stamps.
That was on, so that 200 million, by the way, that number is on suppressors and short-barreled rifles alone.
That doesn't include SBSs, AOWs, or machine gun stamps. That's just SBSs or SBRs and suppressors. That's it. $200 million last year.
Although when you figure that means that's 100 million suppressors and short barrel rifles.
I mean, yes. that is something that you have to consider. But
100,000 or No, 1 million.
No,
What would that be? $200?
$2 million.
A million. That'd be a million.
A million. So
A million.
if you look at the common use test that was laid out in DC versus Heller, and you look at the fact that there was something that they recently declared wasn't considered in common use, and the currently known circulation of those items was something like 900,000. If you're talking about 1 million items in a calendar year, how does that fail to meet common use?
Yep, exactly. But yeah, so again, stop falling for the cult of personality. Stop falling for politicians. Stop believing that someone else is going to come save you. No one is coming. No one is here to save you. It is up to you.
What the hell?
You. Now, we do have one more. We will end on an uplifting note.
Dude, I just got random music in my earbuds. It's like,
well,
wait.
That's weird.
I have 65 tabs open. Which one is making noise?
Yeah, which one? A federal court has ruled in favor of a Cowley County, that is Kansas, bird dog trainer and his wife, ruling that surprise warrantless searches to their property are unconstitutional. Again, I'm shocked that that's unconstitutional.
Right.
The ruling in favor of Scott Johnson and Harleen Hoyt was issued by U.S. District Judge Catherine H. Vrattil, following a federal civil rights trial that concluded in late May, according to a press release from the Kansas Justice Institute. The court found that the state's practice of conducting unannounced inspections of private homesteads and property without a warrant, notice, or consent, surprise, surprise, violates the Fourth Amendment.
It's almost like violating your right to be free of unreasonable searches is codified somewhere.
Gosh, it's almost like simply calling it an inspection, a surprise inspection, does not in fact make it not a warrantless search.
Right? Especially since if I read this, I didn't read this particular article, but I read another one similar to it. They had found from other people that they had done this to a number of code violations that they then cited homeowners for.
Yeah, which again, this is, it doesn't matter that you call it an inspection instead of a search. You're not allowed to do it. This is a landmark victory for Scott and Harleen and for every American who values the sanctity of their home, said Sam McRoberts, litigation director of Kansas Justice Institute, which represents couple. The Constitution's promise that our homes are our castles was upheld, and rightly so. The case arose when Johnson, a nationally recognized dog trainer, and his wife challenged Kansas's law requiring licensed dog trainers to submit. Okay, again, this is dog trainers. I want to reiterate, dog trainers. Dog trainers, people who train dogs. This is what they do. They take dogs and they train them. Okay. They were required to submit to unannounced inspections of their private homestead under penalty of fines or loss of licensure. The lawsuit was filed by the Kansas Justice Institute on behalf of Johnson and Hoyt in 2022. In 2024, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit reinstated the case after it was dismissed, ruling that the couple's Fourth Amendment claims deserve to be heard. The state that defended its inspection regime by invoking the pervasively regulated industry exception to the Fourth Amendment's prohibition of warrantless searches. The exception is recognized by the U.S. Supreme Court for industries like mining, but was rejected for hotels in the 2015 case of L.A. v. Patel, arguing that dog training fell within its scope. The judge rejected the state's argument because of that warrantless inspections of training kennels were justified, warning that such logic could essentially turn any industry into a closely regulated one and swallow the rule. that the government must obtain a warrant before conducting a search. This case wasn't just about Scott and Harleen, McRoberts said. It was about every Kansan's right to be secure in their own home. Government can't sidestep the Constitution just because it finds it convenient. First of all, yes, it can.
And it does frequently.
It does all the time. There is one and only thing that will prevent them from doing so. That is also part of the Constitution.
Might have something to do with this case, but again, we're trying to not get arrested here. So
that is also part of the Constitution. It's right at the very beginning of it. It's in fact the second part of the Constitution.
The second the second provision that was added to the Constitution
after it was initially ratified. Only the Second Amendment to the Constitution, if you will, was a thing that maybe you should be familiar with. That is the only thing that will in fact stop them from sidestepping the Constitution. Anyway, quote, "We are pleased that the federal court saw things our way," Johnson said. "The well-being of the animals in our care is priority one around here. Our clients know and appreciate that about us. This will come as a relief to other trainers and boarding kennels around the state."
So I have to hold on. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so again, I just want to reiterate, the state of Kansas was like, no, it's very important that we do warrantless searches at will of your property and that you agree to do that in order for you to train dogs.
Yep. Which makes perfect sense if you're not paying attention to literally anything.
Because, training dogs is such a potentially wildly dangerous activity that could result in terrorism. You know what it is? Training bees, okay? But they're not doing warrantless searches on beekeepers, are they?
Now, I have to go back to this because I sent the article about militarized bees to a friend of mine who happens to also be somebody who keeps an apiary of his own. And he sent me a news article from a Russian news source where the Ukrainian forces were throwing beehives into Russian fortified bunkers to flush Russian soldiers out into the open.
I mean, that'll work. See, again, attack bees, man. Trained attack bees. You come out. We are not coming out. You must come out. We are not coming out. Okay, fine. Bees.
We send in the bees.
Bees.
Bees in the bunker.
There are bees in the bunker.
So I had to throw that out there because that shit's hilarious.
Again. So,
speaking of homesteading things, so we have.
I think, by the way, real quick, I think we have to change the name of this episode to not to like attack bees. I want attack bees. I think
let's just call it bees. Bees with like 5 exclamation points.
All capitals. Bees.
Yep. But with our homesteading thing, and we're coming close on time here. I want our listeners' input. So comment below, comment on this video, comment on whatever podcast platform you're listening to, the Rumble video, whatever it is. Send me a comment. Some of you may know, some of you may not. My wife and I raise meat rabbits. And we've recently discovered that there's actually a very healthy market, private market, for meat rabbits to private citizens. I sell them to the guy down the street, for example. So we're looking for a consensus on the name of our operation. One is we've come up with, and these two are fairly derivative of one another, is hilltop hoppers or hillside hoppers, because we do live on a ridge top. The other one, and I can't remember the other the adjective that goes with it, because it was something my wife just kind of threw at me earlier today. But it has to do with the word conies, which, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, conies. There's only one thing to do with a batch of conies. What's taters, precious?
However, I would like to submit that Rip Cottontails seems like a good one.
But we don't raise cottontails.
I know, but also just bopping him on the head seems like a good one.
But so we are looking for names for our rabbit operation. So if anybody has any suggestions, our two primary ones are hilltop or hillside hoppers. If you have any suggestions, throw them in the comments. My wife and I will stew them over, and I will publicly announce the winner. And yeah, maybe if some merch ever gets made for the operation, shoot me your address, and I'll send you some merch for it.
Good Fairy Rabbit Behavioral Therapy LLC.
One of the ones that we talked about was like capstone conies, because we're on the top of the hill and you consider it a cap and all that fun stuff. But or corner conies. We want to integrate either hoppers or conies into the name.
Watership Meat Services.
Hopper Popper Holistics. How's that?
I kind of like Hopper Poppers. That's a pretty good one.
There's actually a thing, and I made my own because they don't sell them anymore. It's literally called a Hopper Popper, and it's a piece of angle iron with a piece of rebar that's welded at a 45-degree angle, roughly. Okay. And you grab the ears, you grab the hind legs, you wedge the head in the Hopper Popper and lift up on the hind legs, and it's an instant cervical dislocation. And it's literally called a Hopper Popper.
I could call it Brace Yourselves. Oh! Oh!
So
Warren Gestapo in services.
My rabbits are not Jews.
It's just you're keeping the rabbits underneath your floorboards, are you not?
No, I'm keeping them in the fucking cages. No. I'm doing the same thing you were doing in 1945. That's what we do.
Never mind. This is completely understandable. It's as you've heard.
But any suggestions on naming would be great. If you're interested and you happen to be in the area, hit me up on social media, hit us up on social media, and we'll work something out. But just throwing it out there, because we currently have 70 rabbits. And we're going to be in the process of doing some heavy processing over the next few weeks. So if you would like some fresh meat and you happen to be in the area, let me know. We'll hook you up. We'll work something out.
Sad Easter services. You did this to yourself. Oh, the anti-Cadbury. It's
Cadbury's conies. Oh my god. Dude, I kid you not. The other day, so we had one rabbit that got bit in the testicles by his cage mate.
Well, that's not cricket at all.
No. So in order to save his life, because he was one of our breeding stock, he wasn't one that we had intended to go to Kenmore camp. In order to save his life, we had to castrate him. So he's no longer capable of breeding, obviously. But so he has been promoted, as I say, to pampered pet. Because he's my buddy. Literally, if I walk past his cage, he will shake his cage, be like, "Hey, fucker, get back here and scratch me."
One of our new rats is like that. His name is Dubby. And
So
Dubby.
This is Fleck. You've seen pictures of Fleck.
Yeah.
So he
Fleck who?
Right. So for anybody who's unfamiliar, Fleck looks like Fleck Tarn, the camel pattern, which is how he got his name. But so he will do that. I forgot where I was going with this, but he's so goddamn funny because if I let him out of the cage and let him free roam, he'll come over and just sit on my lap and wait for me to scratch him. Like he literally begs for attention like a cat.
Yeah, we just adopted two rats from the Humane Society that were surrenders. They were feeders that had gotten too big to be feeders.
Sure.
And so the guy had just dropped them off with his grandma and been like, "Here, they're too big to be fed to my snakes," and just left them there because people seem to do this quite frequently. I don't know what is with people, in particular guys who keep rats at all, that they just like dump them with grandmothers and then abandon them. Same with snakes too. I don't know. It's a snake person thing. I actually really think like dudes who keep snakes seem to love to like just dump shit with their grandmothers. But he dumped these three and we've adopted two of them. Paperwork is official tomorrow. We fostered them initially and they're doing well. The last one's still there because he's apparently very bitey and doesn't get along well with the other two, so we're not real sure what we're gonna do there. But at the same time, I don't feel like I can just abandon the poor guy. But the two though, so Dubby, we're pretty sure they were bucks. They were meant to be bucks.
Okay.
And then they just got too old and too big, and he didn't know what to do with them. But and the obvious answer is turn them into pets, moron, but whatever. He dropped them off. She dropped them off at the Humane Society. We have the two. Dubby will run to the cage, and he's this beautiful blue-gray, except for his tummy, which has white on it. And I will just see in the morning in the dark as I get up for work, just him doing this back and forth on the cage and freaking out because I can see the white on his belly, and he's like, oh, pay attention to me, oh, hi, and he'll popcorn around in his cage and everything, and he's so excited to see me, and it's just the goofiest thing because the two of them are excited to see us, but they also don't want to be touched.
Fair enough.
So they'll get right up to the cage and be like, oh, hi, and then you open the cage and you're like, hi, and they're like, run away. And
which is funny because
so
yesterday my wife and I went up to back up to the Wausau area because the woman who we bought Fleck from a little over a year or a little under a year ago, she's getting out of large breeds, and the Fleck he's a standard Rex. So full size, they're about 10 to 12 pounds. They're a good sized rabbit.
Yeah.
And since she's getting out of it, she offered us, because I kept her in the loop on how Fleck was doing and whatnot.
Oh, hang on. I have to interrupt you really quick because it just occurred to me. Alepus Mons. Okay, continue.
Good God. So she thought of us because she's getting out of the larger breeds, and she had Fleck's brother, who, if you're familiar with rabbits, he's a harlequin color, which is kind of like a striped calico of sorts, primarily black and brown. And she also had an 8-week-old kit that was a doe, also of that same harlequin coloration. And she's like, I thought about just selling him on the open market, but I know you guys did such a good job with Fleck, as far as taking care of him and whatnot, that I figured I'd offer him to you guys first. So she literally offered Fleck's brother and niece, so to speak, to us for free. All we had to do is go pick them up. So we took a little family road trip up to Wausau yesterday and picked up Harley, the harlequin, and his daughter, who is a harlequin doe, born of a harlequin buck and a tricolor doe.
Shouldn't she be Harley and he's Quinn?
She probably didn't expect to have another harlequin. So
yes, contrary to what a whole bunch of very mentally troubled teenage girls believe, Harlequin is not Harley Quinn. It is Harlequin, and it is a specific pattern.
yes.
It's been around for a very, very long time. It generally traditionally is used kind of interchangeably with calico and a lot of animal coats, but Harlequin, when it comes to the actual original pattern, that, the little diamonds and the black and back and forth and that whole thing that you see on her original outfit when she was first introduced in the cartoon, not the comic books. Yeah, that's Harlequin.
Yep. So we are now the proud owners of a full-blown harlequin buck and a almost purebred harlequin doe with that Rex fur. That real soft Rex fur.
I have a pair of gloves lined with that.
Oh, it's so soft and squishy, and you can't beat it.
See,
actually,
I've
fun fact. We had 2 non-Rex rabbits that bred, quite by accident, but they bred. One is a white and brown, and the other one is a solid black. And from that, we got 3 with Rex, that soft Rex fur.
That's just weird. Well, now that we've lost most of our listening audience before we did any of the ads, let's end the broadcast with the ads. Check out our link tree if you would. Support those who support us. That includes thebeardstruggle.com, Lions Not Sheep, Reaper brand apparel, coffee brand coffee, W Energy. No, that is not what I named the rat after. That was already his name.
Lies.
Seriously. A bunch of others that are out there. We have a bunch of sponsors. They make this stuff better for you guys, so we would appreciate it if you support those who support us. And as always, make sure that you check out poppinspatches.com. That is what I'm rocking tonight, the ATF NPC red coat. He makes fantastic patches. They're super high quality. And he just released one that I am absolutely planning on buying.
The Senator?
Yes, the Senator Mudflap Girl from Star Wars Episode 1. And
Yeah, I'm
we
kinda
can't be
partial to
together.
that one,
This is
too.
the outfit she chooses. You know what I mean? Like, it's, yeah. So I
Yeah,
want that one real bad.
Anakin's a teenage boy and she dresses like that. It's like, bitch, please.
Annie, we can't be together. Are you kidding me? But yes, the Senator, it's Padme Amidala, Mudflap Girl. It's absolutely amazing, and you should check it out. We posted it in our Telegram, link to it and whatnot, but I will be getting that one. It's super, super awesome. I am very, very excited about it. But all of that being said, check out everybody, all of our sponsors, everything else. Use the codes that we have listed in the description, everything, if you guys want to check out any stuff. We do not have sponsors that we do not believe in. Anything else, Dad?
Any sponsor that we partner with or we are affiliated with in any way whatsoever, one of us has purchased products or actively uses products from that sponsor. In the case of W Energy, both Andrew and I actively use W's products. In the case of Coffee Brand Coffee, I buy Coffee Brand Coffee myself.
Yep. Yeah. I mean,
So
and you've seen me or like the patches, the Lion's Not Cheap patches, the Reaper brand apparel stuff. I obviously look at my luxurious beard. I use beardstruggle.com's products. That is not what I use for my hair, but you know, that's
ever since I shaved my head, I have reduced the amount of beard that I have, only because it looks kind of goofy. But
oh man, my hair just keeps getting longer, and I am still not sure where I cut it. I don't know.
Are you going for the 70-year-old Vietnam veteran look?
Well, that's where I'm at now.
You're not quite there. You don't have enough gray.
It's true, but I haven't decided where I actually cut my hair. Like where, at what point?
You are currently in GWAT hippie status.
Well, it's because I kind of am. So, but like I haven't decided. I don't know. Maybe we'll do it. Do a fundraiser for where Andrew cuts his hair or something. I don't know, but
Andrew cuts.
I haven't decided yet.
At 2 feet, and then donates it to some good charity.
I am sure that there is a girl out there right now who has cancer who would love to get a wig made out of my incredibly curly, beautifully, in my opinion, curly hair, and beautiful in lots of people's opinion, curly hair. But I am sure they would be very, very happy.
You won't catch my fingers running through your hair, Andrew.
Oh man, I've had random people at bars play with my curls, and it's a little weird, not gonna lie. Thankfully it's always been women, but
I was gonna say, in your lifestyle that could go either way. So
thankfully it's always been women, like just playing with my hand. I'm like, do I know you? Like, why are you touching my head?
Not yet, but we can fix that.
I mean, well, anyway, we're going to get out of here. You guys have been awesome. We thank you so much for listening to us or watching us. If you're watching us on YouTube, we really appreciate it. As always, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on all the major podcatchers out there. We are all over the place, every single place.
Keep your eyes peeled out there on our socials for the poll that I'm going to put out for the name of our rabbit operation, because I would really love everybody's feedback.
Yeah, check that out on our Facebook. We are also on Telegram. We are on Rumble. We are on Odyssey. We are on all sorts of things. We are all over the place. We are everywhere. No, not quite, but we try to be everywhere for you guys, and we appreciate it. Thank you for listening. This has been episode 252, which I have renamed BEEEES. You guys have a great night. We will see you on the next one.
Peace.